The BasedBros live stream. Today, we are doing a special episode with Michael, who is one of the co-founders of Tectonic. So, Michael, in your own words, can you give us a little bit of background about yourself, and then maybe we can dive deeper into what Tectonic is all about?
Yeah, very happy to be here. So I got going in tech in about 2010. So I think you might have been in a high chair at that point. But I got hired by a company called Eventbrite, which is well known in Silicon Valley. So we raised money from Sequoia. I ran sales go to market, and then we eventually went public. So it was a good ride there. And I was in the belly of the beast in San Francisco at a great time. Kind of like when Airbnb was coming online, Twitter was having a big run. Uber was blowing up, so it was a good place to be. After that, I did a series of startups, and then I also spent 4 years at Salesforce. So I have a background in enterprise software sales. I started a company in 2021, got acquired, and then meandered my way into blockchain. So that's a little bit about myself.
Very interesting. And where does Tectonic kind of come into the picture for you? Like you say, you entered into like blockchains like post 2021. So how does Tectonic come in? Why Tectonic? Can you explain like what it is to begin with for like somebody who's
Mhm.
new, like probably hearing it for the first time?
Yeah. So the transition for me happened through a very close friend of mine who was raising a fund. So he's raising a long biased fund, crypto fund basically. He's a trader, so he's one of the best macro traders in the world. He was a trader at Goldman Sachs, went to MIT, pretty brilliant guy. So watching him go all in on the crypto slash blockchain space inspired me to do so as well. So he was raising $100 million fund, and I helped raise millions of dollars for that fund. It was the first time that I had fully paid attention to the space. I had traded, off and on for the past 5 years, but I think there's a very unique intersection within Web3 and blockchain of some of the smartest folks from Web2, like dipping their toes in Web3. So that's kind of where we try to stay. So you could see that there have been a lot of crossover investors. The biggest would be like an Andreessen Horowitz. There's like a lot of brilliant engineers that could go work for a Google or a YouTube, but they go work for a Coinbase, or a big L1. So just kind of like looking at that intersection, like inspired me to build. So we needed to figure out what to build. And I think that one of the biggest stories that's coming within Web3 has to do with quantum. So to zoom back, Tectonic is exploring the intersection between blockchain and quantum. So I think a lot of people who are
I think
an issue for a
no
moment.
worries. Yeah, you,
Am I
you were
back?
mentioning about like quantum. You just started off
Yeah,
about quantum.
yeah. My Wi-Fi should be fine. I'm at my apartment, but anyways, some quantum computers are coming. There are different folks who are kind of beating the drums about this looming quantum threat. So there's different quantum computing initiatives going on all across the world. Google has a big initiative. Amazon has an initiative. Microsoft. There's publicly traded companies like D-Wave. And then there's the institutions throughout the world, and China, Russia. Like a whole bunch of people are making these quantum computers, and they're getting better and better, right? One thing that quantum computers where they're gonna
Yeah, I see you now. Don't worry.
right back.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
you were
I don't
talking
know
about
why.
like China, Russia.
Yeah. I don't know why my internet wouldn't be working, but I'll keep going. So sorry about that. So basically, these quantum computers are coming online. One of the things that they're good at is breaking encryption, and all of Web3 needs to move to post-quantum cryptography in order to protect against these future incidents. All of Web2 needs to move to post-quantum cryptography, and the US government needs to move to post-quantum cryptography. So there's this mass migration in moving from weak encryption which is normally elliptic curve cryptography or ECDSA, in order, or not in order, but moving from that weak encryption to stronger encryption. So the stronger encryption is called post-quantum cryptography. There are signatures out there. They're normally lattice-based for anybody who's technical on this call. Falcon is a big one. And we're here to shepherd that migration. So to put it in context, Vitalik came out and said that there's a 50% likelihood that Ethereum is vulnerable by 2030. After he made that claim, he took the timeline down to 2028. So what we have within Web3 is a ticking time bomb. Quantum computers will get to the point where they can break encryption, and we don't know when. It's not an if, it's a when. And Tectonic is here to shepherd that process. If you like really zoom out from 20,000 feet, that's what we're doing.
And why do you think like so many people are like not paying attention to this? Because when you explain it like that, when you educate us like that, it does appear like it's a very serious problem, and more people should be worried about it. But apparently, we've got people who've got like hundreds of millions of dollars, and it's all stored in Bitcoin, and now their keys are at the risk of being compromised. Their Bitcoin is at the risk of being taken away by somebody who cracks it first, who cracks the key first. Why are they not paying attention to it? Like, based on your experience, what do you think is happening on the back end when these people are hearing about quantum risks?
Yeah, I think it's just human nature. So we might need to bring in a psychologist or an evolutionary anthropologist to our team to help answer this question. I can't really think of too many comps. For a while, everyone was talking about the environment, and if we were going to move past certain markers in terms of temperature in the environment, that they would be irreversible, and people will just speed past them. People have been talking about it with AI, where they're like, "Hey, we shouldn't move too fast before we have the alignment problem solved," and people just blow past them. There's something about human nature to not worry about things until they have to. So. We're working with a lot of L1s and L2s. One product that we have is called an audit. So we could take our team that has, 4 PhDs in post-quantum cryptography. We can go around to different L1s, L2s, and players within Web3, and we can go under the hood and make recommendations to move to compliance. And everything needs to be approved by NIST. So it's like a NIST standardized signature. So we can make recommendations there to get people compliant. So a lot of folks are doing that, to get ahead of it prophylactically. But it's not quite a burning house for folks. And to answer why, I don't really have a solid answer. It's
Mhm.
a lot of people think in the moment, especially if you look at retail investors within Web3. A lot of people are thinking within the minutes or the hours, right? So it's like a very omnipresent, always on, live kind of in the moment ecosystem that we have.
True. And what would you say is like making Tectonic like the best team to be solving this problem? Because I'm pretty sure there would be like other teams who are trying to achieve the same things or achieve the same results as you guys have achieved, or are at least aiming for the same outcome as you guys have achieved. What would you say like sets you guys apart in that scenario?
Yeah, I mean, I would say it's the team, first of all. So, if you're going to be working in post quantum cryptography, you need to have PhDs that have studied this. And there aren't that many folks in the world that are at the top of the heap. And we have some of those folks. So, someone that we have on our team is a PhD at MIT. He studied underneath a guy named Peter Shor, who's the godfather of quantum computing. Shor's algorithm is what quantum computers will use to break encryption. So someone from our team did his PhD underneath the guy who created the algorithm that quantum computers will use to break encryption. So we're very close to the source. We have people from Coinbase, we have people from IBM, we have people from Google on our team. So you need rock star academics, and then you need to know what to build. And I think we're also very early. So yeah, it's I can't really speak to the competition on this, but it is a very nascent space. And from my experience over the past couple decades within Silicon Valley, the team is what gets you to great results.
And when you say that, you guys have like definitely the right team, and now you guys are working towards solving the quantum problem that is inherently present within crypto itself. um, when you are going and you're like pitching to users as such, what do you think is like adopting them to move over to Tectonic, for example? Like, do they have to, for example, move their entire portfolio to Tectonic as a chain? Or would you say that it's basically something that you can also lend your security in some sense to other chains as well? Is that like a discussion you've had? You briefly mentioned audits in there, but let's just assume I'm somebody, I'm really, really lazy. I have my assets on Base, let's just say, which is the Coinbase layer 2. Is there any way like Tectonic can help me as well?
Yeah, so we have a wallet that's coming out. So it'll be the first wallet where people can store crypto assets and they're not going to be vulnerable to attacks from quantum computers. We don't have an exact release date for that, but it's production ready at the moment. So that'll be a first of its kind. And then the other part is on the audits. So we realized that we put together a lot of know-how on one very specific domain, and that's post-quantum cryptography. And to give you an example, like we're actually partnered with NIST. So NIST is the National Institute of Standards and Technologies. It's the governing body within the United States for all encryption and really thereby the world. So if you talk to hardcore cryptographers, they all know NIST and everything needs to be standardized by NIST. We have an active relationship with them. So we have signed contracts with NIST. So if someone needs to say, all right, I need to move to signatures that are standardized by NIST, we're great folks to do so. So I think we'll do a lot of work with the US government, helping the US government move over to PQC. Like the US government came out and they said they're going to spend about $10 billion over the next decade moving to PQC. So there's a lot of stuff I can't talk about yet that we're doing there. That's very important work. And it's made possible through some of our investors and then also through our partnership with NIST. So there's like a lot of work we can do on the government side. For retail, we have the wallet. And then for players within the Web3 ecosystem, we have the audits. So that's kind of the simplest way to break down the products we have at this moment.
You mentioned like US government in there, which kind of like brings me to the point that, whenever we at least talk about crypto in general from a retail perspective, we really hammer down on decentralization a lot. But I can see that you are also emphasizing the need for regulatory clarity as well. Can you explain like why this regulatory clarity is important for something like Tectonic, right? Like, what benefit does it strategically get you guys? Why is this decision being taken that, what, instead of going AWOL and being rogue and building it out on our own, we are instead going to work with the governments to bring PQC to the world?
Yeah, well, maybe I'll take like a different approach to that answer. So I think it has to do partially with my background and our co-founders' backgrounds and the people that we're hiring. We have a lot of people who come from a Web2 perspective. So one of our best engineers worked for Google. He worked for Reddit, and then he got pulled over to Ethereum Foundation and is now with us. I think that when your background is more on the Web2 side, you tend to stay within the rails. And I think there's so much opportunity to stay within the rails. And yeah, I think there's like a lot of folks within the far end of Web3, who are anonymous and just kind of like out there running hyper decentralized. Like, I don't know if they could necessarily pull off some of the deals with the US government. That we would be able to, because we're a pretty structured team. I spent 4 years at Salesforce, like working with Fortune 1000 companies, like being in boardrooms. So I think it's a unique advantage that we have to stay within the rails, to stay close to the US government and, do really important work, right? So that there's a pretty large amount of revenue that we can get if we do contracts with the US government. It's upwards of $10 billion. So I think it's a unique opportunity for us to do important work for the US government, do important work for Web3, and then have really killer products for retail.
And Mike, you mentioned like Salesforce again. I have to ask because you're somebody who has gotten his boots up and earned his medals in the Web 2 world before transitioning into Web 3. Would you have like any advice for like new coming founders who probably already have experience in Web 2 and are now thinking about, maybe they want to get into Web 3? Like you were early, you came in during like the 2021 era. Maybe there are people who are now thinking about getting into crypto. Like any advice for those people who are just like easing into it right now?
Yeah, I wouldn't have any advice that's specific to someone within Web3. I mean, there's not that big of a difference, right? There's Web3 investors, there's Web2 investors, and some of them cross over. There's Web3 engineers, Web2 engineers, some of them cross over. It's like a different code base or a different programming language on the Web3 side. But at the end of the day, it's the same thing. Like you need product market fit. So a lot of first time founders, they say if we build it, they'll come. It's like watch How to Start a Startup by Y Combinator, and all of the lessons you learn in that 10-part series will be applicable to Web3 and Web2. And you just have to build. So you have to find great design, great engineers, great product people, build, and then things are just a little bit different on the Web3 side, but yeah, you get up to speed quite quickly.
Okay. Like I think everybody just started like how to start a startup to their
Yeah, it's about
YouTube.
10 years old, but you know, I've been doing startups for 10 years. So a lot of people come to me and they have a lot of questions. I always point them to that video series. It's like why Combinator has bequeathed, like thousands of companies at this point, and they
Mhm.
really have it down to a science. And really at the end of the day, a lot of people's issues when they're starting a startup is that they either don't have the right team or they don't have product market fit. So if you don't have product market fit, there's nothing that you can do to overcome that. And then if you do have product market fit, you're going to get all the help in the world. So if someone comes to me and they're like, how do I raise money from investors? It's like product market fit. If they say, how do I get product market fit? Get a better team.
Oh
Keep
wow.
iterating.
Oh wow. Okay. Yeah. That's a good way to kind of drive it back home that it really depends on the people. As like one of the co-founders, do you internally have like a benchmark for Tectonic that okay, once this happens, I would consider it to have like some sort of product market fit, or do you think it's like too early to make a call on or judgment on that?
We're seeing product market fit. We're seeing a lot of product market fit on the U.S. government side with the work that we're doing there. We're seeing a lot of product market fit already on the audits. So we have audits that are ongoing. So yeah, tons of product market fit there. Hopefully, we'll see product market fit on the wallet side, but the wallet isn't out yet. It should be out shortly. So yeah, you're every day, your whole existence is trying to find product market fit. It's just different whether it's full consumer versus more enterprise, which is what we're doing on the audits and the work with the U.S. government, which is what I used to do at Salesforce. So to kind of, edify it for anyone on the call who doesn't understand the split between consumer and enterprise, like enterprise sales is very relationship based. You're signing contracts, you have deliverables, there's a quite long engagement, you're going through legal, procurement, etc. So you tend to need sales folks to help kind of usher that. And there's even pre-sales, post-sales, sales engineers. That's what we're doing a lot of early on the U.S. government side, as well as working with L1s, L2s, and other players. And then consumer is put a wallet out and try to get consumers to get benefit and value out of that. So that side of the business is coming shortly, but that's really the breakdown between consumer and enterprise. Just different cycles.
Besides your past experience in the enterprise chain, do you think there is like any other major reason because of which you chose to first focus on the enterprise side of things rather than the consumer side of things when you were starting out Tectonic?
Yeah, I mean, like an audit is based on talent, right? So we have the talent in house, and to go through and do an audit, it's just work. To build a wallet takes a lot of time and a lot of resources. You have product, you have designers, you have engineers. So we started with what we could do immediately, and that was more on the U.S. government side as well as the audit side. Some of the stuff just takes longer to build.
Makes sense. And when you say it's like really relationship driven, at least like the institutional side of it or the enterprise side of it, there are a lot of people in crypto, not necessarily even in like the chain level space, right? They may be in like consumer level space as well, or business development or marketing, for example, or founders when they're trying to raise. Really young people, they want to raise funds, they want to gain the trust of their users, but crypto as an industry is notorious for extraction first mindset. Are there any practices that you have implemented over your decade long career as like somebody who's like started multiple companies, exited them, that you have kind of picked up that these are some of the key principles, which if you follow long enough, then beyond chance you are to be seen as somebody reliable, you are to be seen as somebody who's like worth having a relationship with, even from like people who are probably worth like 10x more than you, or maybe even 100x more than you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it goes back to product market fit. So you can keep these things super simple. If you don't have product market fit, then it doesn't matter how much marketing you spend. So a canonical example of product market fit would be Uber. Uh, when Uber was launched, and a lot of people tell different stories of Uber, but the story that I've heard from the people who are most closely involved that I know is it really started off as a service for folks in San Francisco, like for a wealthy group of folks that just wanted their own private drivers. Like they didn't have Uber X, right, on their horizon. And it immediately shot past the 50 people that they thought that they were going to have. So they even used like a third party developer in order to build Uber, right? Because the product market fit was so high. And there's a high likelihood that if someone who's listening right now used Uber for the first time, they didn't use Uber because of advertising. They used Uber because one of their friends was using Uber and they said, "What is that?" And they're like, "Oh, you hit a button," right? So on the consumer side, there needs to be some sort of virality in order for something to take off. And as long as you capture that virality, then you're going to be a massive company if you don't shoot yourself in the foot along the way. Money will be there for you if you have something that really works. So I think too many people spend too much time focused on things that don't have to do with product market fit, where product market fit is probably the last thing you want to focus on because it's so difficult, but the only thing that actually matters. And then within Web3, like different companies are finding ways to show like incredible product market fit. I think stablecoins have incredible product market fit. Solana has great product market fit. Ethereum, Bitcoin, Coinbase, like different wallets, like there's just different use cases. And where, I don't know if we're in the first pitch of the first inning. That's a US baseball metaphor, but we're very early on. And there's still so much product market fit to be had within this space. And it's just going to take really bright folks to build things that people actually need.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of funny that even though we may feel like, oh, we've been around for a while, um, when I joined crypto, like ChatGPT was not there, and now things have just moved so fast that it's very easy for us to mistake being accustomed to something as maturation of it. But it's just that it has been long enough for us to like see it day in and day out. But when I go out and meet people who are not on Twitter, let's just say, they don't know about cloud code, they don't know about Grok, they've barely used ChatGPT enough, right? So I think and that's on the AI side, much less on the crypto side. Most people have never actually gone beyond decentralized exchange. So definitely there's like a lot of space there for people to explore. And I think, Michael, my last question to you, for somebody who wants to get involved, who is interested in Tectonic, are there any upcoming developments that you can tease about or talk to us about that people should be on the lookout for on the horizon? And if there's like a community member who's listening to this right now, they're like, you know what, Tectonic seems like the next big thing. I was late to AI agents. I was late to robotics. I don't want to be late to quantum blockchains and basically quantum resistant computation networks. How can I be early to Tectonic? So, what would you say to somebody like that?
Yeah, I would say email us, go to our website. It's just tectonic.xyz. find us on X and just shoot us a message, right? So um, we're very accessible.
Michael, I think this entire show has been not only like a masterclass in just quantum security as such, but also for somebody who wants to build a business which actually has product market fit, as you said, in Web3. So thank you so much for your time. I know you're like super busy, so you had the chance to like just drop by, catch us up on what's been interesting at Tectonic. For those of you who are wondering, you guys can go ahead and follow Tectonic as well. Their X cash is tag is Tectonic XYZ, which is at Tectonic XYZ. You can follow Mike at Mike Bermantu, which is at MikeBermantoo. I will put that in like the tweet descriptions as well. Michael, thank you